Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today I want to talk about my June reads. In June, I read 14 books, so it was a lot of reading this month, like a ton. And the reading itself was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like my highest rated month, like star rating wise, of books I've read this year, but it was still a good month. And there was one book that I did rate 5 stars, so there was one perfect book at least. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna go over each book a little bit, give sort of like a mini review. And there will be some spoilers in there, so be warned. And we are going to start with The Look of a King by Tom Dumbrell, which is the first book in the Pillars of Peace trilogy. And this is sort of like a medieval fantasy setting that takes place in the fictional kingdom of Easthaven. And our main character's name is Cyrus, who is this storyteller. He's a storyteller in a small village on the border of another village, not on the border of another kingdom. I meant to say. Yeah, and our other like sort of main character is the Prince Augustus, who he is thrust in the kingdom in the beginning of the book when his father gets assassinated. He dies by poisoning, right? As that starts the war, where this Kingdom of Easthaven is going to go to war with their neighbor, who they blame for killing the king. And in the beginning of the book, we see Augustus, Prince Augustus, die, or we think he's dead. Right? He falls off the side of a cliff, and Cyrus, who is running away from his village that got attacked, sees this, and he gets clubbed and like knocked out. When he awakes, he's in the palace of Easthaven, and he realizes that he sort of looks like Prince Augustus, right? And Prince Augustus's Kingsguard, or yeah, I guess it's a Kingsguard, would decide that they're gonna pretend that Cyrus is the king. They're gonna show him off as the king because he looks just like Prince Augustus, and Cyrus is gonna have to pretend to be Augustus in this war. And that's sort of like the point of the novel. It's like Cyrus looks just like Prince Augustus. A, why, and then B, can he pull off pretending to be king? And through most of the story, he does pull off pretty well. Even though there's a war going on, he goes and meet with the other king, and they don't agree on ending the war. But he sets up like certain defenses that end up kind of working out. And finally, when this other king comes to attack, Augustus shows back up, and he's like, "Thank you for keeping the seat warm." And then we get the twist where we learn that Cyrus is actually Augustus' younger brother who was sent away after birth, sort of as like a peace offering, I think. I'm remembering that correctly. Yeah, and Augustus is kind of a like not a great person. Like we learn he's like sort of jealous, and there's this whole like setup to kill Cyrus that he sets up with the other king, or he's going to take down the other king and Cyrus at the same time. It ends up backfiring. Cyrus ends up living, but the Prince Augustus, or King Augustus now, bodyguard ends up dying. But they do repel the other king, and they sort of win that war. But in the end, Cyrus has to go away from the palace because that's the only way that his sister and everybody else is going to be safe from sort of King Augustus. Plus, he also promised the other king that he'd go to his other kingdom if he didn't attack anymore. And he's a person that's sort of honorable and he wants to fulfill his promises. So that's sort of how that ends in sort of a cliffhanger. This book is a little, you can tell it has like first book syndrome to it. The plot has like a good concept and it's, interesting. It's not bad by any stretch, but I would say pacing wise, it's a bit rocky. Some of the dialogue doesn't feel very like authentic. I think Cyrus himself is a bit flat of a character. I think the side characters are very interesting. And like I said, the plot's still good. And I thought the concept of like, oh, it's like sort of this twin brother, which kind of was predictable, but it was still a good concept. And yeah, it's an admirable book, but it's just fine for me. It never reached the good stage. I did finish it, so I didn't hate it, but I'm gonna give it like sort of a 2.5 star grade, which is just a fine book for me. It was fine. And then I read the sequel to that book, which is called No Place for Peace, which is also by Tom Dumbrell. It's the second book in the Pillars of Peace trilogy. And this book was a little bit better for me. I thought this book was actually good. we learn the full scope of the plot. It's actually the Northern Kingdom that killed the king. It wasn't actually the kingdom on the border. Um, and while Prince Cyrus is there, he learns that king is actually kind of a good person. He's just trying to make right by his people, and there's like a rebellion going on in his kingdom. So Cyrus goes out to sort of quell the rebellion, but he ends up actually getting imprisoned in the mountain. And that's, my opinion, one of the more interesting parts of the book. That part reads really well, where he's stuck inside the mountain jail and he manages to escape, and he goes back to the king, and the king sends him back there, and they go and kill the rebel leaders to try to free some of the prisoners. And you find out like a really cool twist with the rebel leader which I won't spoil, but yeah, it's a really good twist. And then you get to the part where they go back to East Haven, right? And Cyrus goes to like try to save the day. Cyrus does manage to sneak back into the East Haven Palace, where it looks like it's about to fall, and Augustus ends up being murdered. And of course, there's somebody on the inside who's sort of like Snake. And that unravels, and there's like a cool ass battle, and everything ends up well. Cyrus wins the day. He ends up becoming king of East Haven. So it's a really nice ending, but the battles scenes are really good. The twists are really good in this one. I thought the action was fast paced. I thought this was a better paced book. To me, this one was good. It didn't reach very good or great for me, because like Cyrus is still a bit flat of a character. But I do really enjoy the side characters in this book series. So I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. It's better. There is a third book in this series which I haven't read, and I don't plan on reading, because this one sort of like ends. It's like you could have ended the series here. It's like a nice wrap up. The next book, I understand, takes place like years later, and it follows a different character, not Cyrus. It follows his younger sister. Maybe I'll get to it someday, but I don't really have any interest in reading that right now. But again, this one was good. 3 stars. No Place for Peace. I think this was better than the first book. Okay, then the next book that I read on the month was 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, which is the first book in the Inheritance trilogy. Now, I've been looking to read an N.K. Jemisin book for a long time. All I ever hear about is the 5th season. I know that's like her crown jewel. That's her best book, according to most people. I never really hear much about 100,000 Kingdoms, like at all. The only time I ever really heard anybody talk about it was Brandon Sanderson on his podcast. And so I was like, oh, what is that? I want to check that out. It sounds interesting. So on Goodreads, I saw it was like in the 3-point-something star range. I was like, oh, okay, so maybe it's only good, not great. But it's still, it's like her epic fantasy, and it's also her first book published. Where 5th season isn't really, it's a fantasy, but it's not really, my understanding, it's not really an epic fantasy. Where this is, so it's like, oh, I want to read this. I'm going to read an N.K. Jemisin book. I'm going to try this one first. I went into it with like low expectations. I wasn't expecting much. And I was blown away. 100,000 Kingdoms, the first book in the Inheritance trilogy series, is perfect. I love this book. I love the world building. I love the gods that we have, like the lore. I loved our main character, Yane. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I thought she was like a really interesting main character, and I thought she was really easy to root for. I loved the side characters. I loved the kingdom itself, like sort of how it's built, and just the setting, the sky, like it feels like sort of like an unreal type of kingdom, or palace, I should say. Yeah, just really interesting. I thought the theming was really powerful here. You had some really powerful theming, sort of focusing on discrimination and some other aspects. And it wasn't in your face about it, but it was there and present, and you felt it. And it's like, oh, okay, she's gonna tackle this, and she did a great job tackling it. And her prose is beautiful. I really love the twists. The twists in this book are outstanding, especially the end. How we learn that Yane sort of has because stuff in the beginning. The lore of the story revolves around 3 gods. So there's 3 main gods who made Sky, the planet with 100,000 kingdoms. We got Nahadath, who is like the god of dark. We got Intepis, the god of light, and we got the god of dawn and dusk, who I forget her name now. Actually, I didn't write it down, but she's like the female god. She's considered the mother. And so eventually, these gods have children, right, with each other, and those children are called godlings, right? Intepis gets jealous of the female god because she's spending all her time with Nahadeth, and Nahadeth is like his. He considers Nahadeth his. It's his partner, and she's hugging him. So he ends up murdering the female god, right? Nahadeth, who's like the god of dark, is super angry, and this sort of a god war starts because of it, where he eventually Intempest beats Nahadeth, and he traps him in a mortal body with some of his godling children and sends them down the sky to serve the people who worship Intempest, the mortals who worship the god of light. So that's where we are in this story, and Nahadeth and his children are trapped in mortal bodies in Sky the Palace, and they're used by the king of basically the world to order and do his deeds. Like if somebody screws up, he'll send out the gods to kill them. The gods don't really have power. They only have like a certain amount of power trapped in the mortal bodies, and they're compelled to follow the king. Like they have to follow the king, otherwise they suffer severe pain. But through it all, we learn that Yane actually has the soul of the female god trapped in her body. She's dead, but her soul was preserved and put in Yane's body. So they're trying to use Yane to bring her back. But that doesn't end up working. What ends up working is the female god kills herself, and Yane ends up replacing the female god, and in the end, they kill Intempest. They don't kill Intempest. They trap Intempest in a mortal body as like punishment for what he did to them, and they free Nahadeth. And there's also two antagonists in this, the Yane's cousins who are planning on killing her to become the new Empress himself, because the Emperor himself is dying. So that's sort of the climax of the book. And yeah, I did a really poor job explaining that because it's kind of complex, but it's really, really good. I enjoyed this book a lot. It's a 5-star book for me. I can't believe this one isn't suggested more. Like, great book. Everything about it. There's no negatives for me in this series, or in this book, I should say. I thought it was perfect. 5 stars. And then I read The Broken Kingdom, which is the second book in the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. And and the way the series is split up is like they all take place years after each other, and they focus on different characters. So this one focuses on a blind artist named Ori, but she can see gods. It's the only thing she can see. If a god is around, she sees him. Like she can see any god. She like sees light basically from the gods. So she ends up taking in this villager who she sees, who she calls Shiny, who is actually Intempest, one of the 3 main gods. It's Nahadeth, Yane, and Intempest. But he's been trapped in the mortal body by Nahadeth and Yane. So she takes him in to like care for him. She doesn't know it's Intempest, but she takes him in. And she has friendships and sort of relationships with a lot of the other godlings. Now the world is filled with godlings. A bunch of godlings have come back to the mortal realm because now they're allowed back here. And the godlings are all children of the gods, right? So the story focuses on this one godling who gets killed. He gets killed, and it's a mystery. Who killed the godlings? The only people that can kill godlings are gods or demons. And demons are the children of godlings and mortals, or gods and mortals, with their blood. So Nahadeth demands to find out who killed the godling. Otherwise, he would kill everybody in the world, and they have 10 days to figure it out. So that's like the premise of the story. And the Church of Intempest is trying to get in touch with Ori because they think she is suspicious. And then this cult ends up kidnapping Ori. And this cult is actually trying to kill a bunch of godlings, but they need demon blood. And it turns out Ori is a demon. She's one of 2 demons that are left. They already killed the other one, and they're taking their blood. Now they want Ori's blood so they can make weapons to kill godlings. And Ori's kind of trapped inside their fort, which is built into the world tree. So that's part of the story. It's like her just trying to escape this fort. And there's like a big battle scene where a bunch of godlings die with Ori's blood that she does not want to happen. It's really dramatic. And then we get a Ori and Tempest relationship, which is really heartwarming, and you find out more about Tempest in this book, and you can't help but root for him. And in the end, when they break out from the prison and kill the cult leader who has ingested so much god blood that he has like the powers of a god now, but they managed to kill him. everything's going. They went away from Sky and Shadow, and they're in this remote village, and they're just enjoying their life. And Tempest and Ori, and it's perfect. And then Yane and Nahadeth come, and they tell him, "Nope, you got to leave Ori and Tempest. You're supposed to be on punishment, and if you don't leave her, we will kill her." So when Tempest leaves in the middle of the night, and it's sort of heartbreaking, but then in the last page, you find out Ori's actually pregnant with a demon child from Tempest himself. And it's a great ending. I love this book. It's a great book. It's not quite perfect. You know, the pacing's a little slow, I think, a little floppy, but it's still world building and the god lore is just as good as ever. And the main character, Ori's really easy to root for. Really good character, really interesting. Has really great theming again. I love the cult aspect of it. Yeah, so to me, this is a great book. 4 stars. It's awesome. And then the next book I read was the third book in the Inheritance trilogy, The Kingdom of Gods, which again is also by N.K. Jemisin. This one's rough for me. So this one takes place about 100 years after the events of the last book. And it focuses on Seiya, who is the oldest godling. So he's the oldest child of Nahadeth and the original godling mother, godmother. And in Tempest. He considers all 3 his parents. It's kind of weird. And Seiya we met in the first book, and he's in the second book a little bit too. And the problem with Seiya is he's the god of mischief, and he's always a child. So that's like his nature is to just be a child. But he's not a child you really like. He's mean, he's dishonest, he's always throwing tantrums, he's angry, he's always playing these children games. It's just, and you're in his head. He's the only point of view character. You're in his head the entire book, and this book is long. It's over 700 pages. It's a long, long book. I thought the plot was good. I thought the side characters were really good. That it centers around Sei, sort of befriending these 2 mortal princes, or a mortal prince and princess of Sky, and they take this blood oath to always protect each other, but then Sei slowly starts becoming mortal, and he doesn't know what's wrong with him. He thinks it's demon blood, but it's actually that Sei's evolving into a god, so he's losing his godling presence to a god. Also, Sei, apparently he had a child with his mother, an unknown child that he forgot about because the godmother, his mother made him forget that he had a child, and they hid the child in another dimension. Now that child is back, and he's starting a rebellion in the mortal realm. And he has made these masks, which sort of can inject the power of gods into him. So he's becoming more than a godling, this child. He's becoming a god. And he has sort of freed the Maelstrom, which created the gods. And that storm is threatening to wipe out all the gods, all the godlings, and the mortal realm at the same time. And in the end, C and his 2 mortal friends stop the Maelstrom, but to do it, Sei has to sacrifice himself. But Sei doesn't die, like I said, because he's becoming a god. Nobody realizes this, though. They think Sei is dead. Sei actually becomes a god and goes to a different dimension. So Sei's in a different universe now. He's the god of a different universe. And he ends up taking the 2 children with him. And they become like the 3 gods of a different universe. It's really strange storytelling. The world building's still really, really good. The world building in this will never not be good. But the main character is a bit not fun and a bit irritating to read. You really don't want to be in his head. He's better as a side character when you're not in his head. And I thought the story was a little bit convoluted. So for me, this one's only fine. It's a 2-star book. It's fine, but not great or anything, or even really good. It was just fine for me. And then I read The Awakened Kingdom, which is a novella set, I think, a few years after The Kingdom of the Gods. Also by N.K. Jemisin. The Awakened Kingdom is really good. So again, this one's just focusing on another child. So Yane has her first godling child with Nahadeth and Tempest. And this child is supposed to be the replacement of Seiya, right? But the thing is, she doesn't really turn out that way. Her name is Shill, but she finds she's not good at mischief. She's not the god of mischief. It's just not her nature. So they send her down to the mortal realm to find her nature, and a bunch of shenanigans happen there, and we get some really good theming here with sort of more segregation and discrimination, and we learn why that's bad, and we find she'll like overcome some obstacles to find her nature, and her nature is that she can like grant god powers to mortals or other people, I guess. And she sort of creates another godling with this friend that she makes who's a mortal. She turns him into a godling, and it sort of breaks the spell of the kingdom of where like this discrimination is going on. So now this kingdom is sort of back to equality. And yeah, this one's really good. It's just a good book. It's really fun, really quick read, and the humor in it's really good. Shill is such a good character. Like, she's everything that I wish Saya was in the last book. I wish there's more stories with Shill in it. Shill's awesome. Yeah, just very funny character, and I thought this one was good. Yeah, 3 stars. Gets 3 stars from me. It's not like a great book or anything. It's short, but it's fun for what it is. It's a good book. Okay, then the next book I read was The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. Really fun story that centers around this princess who was trained as an assassin since she was a child, named Lara, and she is going to marry the king of Ithacana, whose name is Aaron. Yeah, and she's from a different kingdom called Madrina, and they want him to marry her, but secretly they want the king of Madrina wants her to marry Aaron, but secretly plot to overthrow their kingdom by sending them information and then kill Aaron. So she goes there with this plot, and she's getting along with Aaron, but behind his back, she's working to find out the secrets of the Bridge Kingdom and how to overthrow it, and she's plotting how to kill him. But she ends up falling in love with him. And through a bunch of convoluted events, she finds out that actually her father and Madrina are the real bad guys, and they're the ones that are actually starving Madrina. It isn't Ithacana. It isn't the Bridge Kingdom. So she decides she's not going to kill Ithacana. She's not going to kill the king of Ithacana, and she's not going to betray what are now her people. And she becomes she's going to become the queen of Ithacana. Well, she is the queen of Ithacana, and she's taking up that role. But through accidental means, she accidentally ends up overthrowing the kingdom, and that's how the book ends. The book ends with Madrina coming in and just overthrowing Ithacana, taking the bridge from them. The king gets captured, Aaron gets captured, and Lara flees to the northern kingdom of Harrendale. I thought this book was really fun. It's not like a great book or anything, but it's really, really fun, and I think the world building is really good. And I think, the main characters, like Aaron and Lara, are both really, really good characters. I liked being in their head. They were really interesting to me. I think the side characters are really good. I think, Aaron's sister is really good. Some of her cousin and his grandmother, just really good characters. I think the antagonist is really good. I think the king is just, you can tell from the beginning he's evil, even though Lara doesn't realize it. And then there's this other evil guy, Magpie, who's like the king's advisor / spy. Just some really good stuff here. Really fun. This is a 3.5-star book for me. I had a really good time with it. And then I read The Traitor Queen by Daniel L. Jensen, which is the second book in the Bridge Kingdom series. It directly follows the events of the Bridge Kingdom. So here we have Aaron, who's imprisoned in the king's castle, and the king is trying to extract information about him, about this secret island that he has where all his citizens are, because he needs to overthrow that island to finish the kingdom of Ithacana. But obviously, Aaron isn't going to give that up. And then, you have Aaron's internal conflict where he realizes that Lara betrayed him. He knows it's an accident, but it doesn't matter. She still did it. And he can't really forgive her, but he still loves her, and it's like sort of an internal war going on in his head. Lara goes back to Madrina to meet up with her sisters, who are in hiding, because, in the beginning of the first book, Lara pretended to kill them, so the king didn't kill them. So he meets up with her 11 of her 12 sisters. No, 10 of her 12 sisters. 10 of her 11 sisters. Sorry, there's 12 total. She's one of them. She ends up killing one at the end of the first book. The one that's still kind of like evil. So yeah, she meets up with 10 of them, and they plot how they're going to break Aaron out of the prison. There's a lot of good world building. There's even more world building. You learn a lot about the other kingdom, Valkata, how they're sort of not as good as they also appear to be because they won't help. The prison breakout scene's great. The tension between Lara and Eren is just top notch. And I think the battle at the end where they kill the king of Ithacana, not the king of Ithacana, where they kill the king of Madrina, Lara's father. Lara kills him when he goes to take over the secret island. I think that battle's really good. And I think the end is well earned because it's not like just happily ever after. It's like, well, Lara's going to stay around to be queen because Eren has forgiven her and he wants her to stay. But not everybody in Ithacana forgives her, and that feels right. That's how it should be, because she sort of was indirectly responsible for murdering like half their kingdom, right? A ton of innocent people died. Even though she says she was their queen, she was betraying them. Now, like I said, she didn't mean to betray them. In the end, she decided not to, but it didn't matter. It didn't stop what happened. So I thought that was a really good end. That's how it should have ended. Again, this is just another fun one. It's a shorter book. It's a little slower paced, but the world building in this one's more acclimatable. We meet more side characters who are also great. Side characters in this series is awesome. It's another 3.5-star book for me. Okay, then I read The Inadequate Heir, which is the third book in the Bridge Kingdom series. It focuses on two different characters, though. We have Prince Karis, who is the heir to the Madrina throne now, and Princess Sarah, who is the heir to the Valkanan throne. Now, Madrina and Valkata have been at war for centuries. They were like neighboring countries. They're constantly at war. It's called the Endless War. So that's an interesting premise, how you have this prince and princess who are always on, opposite sides of this endless war. And this book's interesting because it takes place entirely during the events of the second book. So, yeah, this book actually opens up with Prince Karis, that heir to the Madrina throne, walking across the bridge to the Bridge Kingdom of Ithacana when his guard betrays him and starts attacking the kingdom of Ithacana. Karis had no idea. He was going to the Northern Kingdom. He thought he was going to the Northern Kingdom to go to university. So, yeah, they basically used him as bait. So yeah, he feels betrayed by his father, obviously. But after that scene, and that's like the end of what happens in book one. After that scene, you get sort of Prince Karis and Princess Sarah. They're on opposite sides of this like shore city that's on like the border of Valkata and Madrina, and they've constantly been at war over the city. So they're fighting that war, and through like crazy events, they end up meeting each other, and they don't know who each other are. So they never actually seen each other in person, and they become friends. But they don't. When they realize who each other are, he panics and runs away. But she ends up getting caught by Karis's younger brother and arrested. And they go to the capital. She gets brought to the capital of Madrina, and there we get to see the events of book two through her eyes. Karis actually comes there as well to try to help break her out from his father. So you get to see the events of book two of like Eren's imprisonment through their eyes, but in this case, Sarah is the one that's in prison, and you get some more side characters. You get to know the harem better, and the magpie better, who's like the spy, and the king better. So yeah, you get to see the escape through their eyes because it's the same escape that happens in book two, but it's through their eyes, so it's a little bit different, and they end up going in a different direction partway through the escape. And then in the end, Zara and Karis like part ways, and they go back to their own kingdoms. And when Karis gets back, he finds out his father has been killed by Lara, and he is now the king. But not before the magpie tells him he told the queen of Valkata that the Princess Zara was seeing him. And the book ends with Princess Zara getting arrested by her aunt and thrown into the notorious prison called Devil's Island. And so the book ends. It's sort of like a giant cliffhanger. Of course, Karis then goes to kill the magpie, but magpie jumps out a window and dies. It's a really good ending. It's a really good book with a lot of world building, and I like how you see the events of book two through like different eyes, and they're focusing on different people. And there's a lot of drama here, a lot of good stuff. I don't think Zara and Karis are as good characters as Lara or Eren, but I really like the story of this one, so it's still a really good book. I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. Still very fun. Every book in the series has been very fun. Okay, then the next book I read was The Endless War by Danielle Jensen, which is the fourth book in the Bridge Kingdom series, and it takes place exactly right after the events of the Inadequate Heir, and it follows also again Karis and Zara. And this book is about Karis's journey to try to free Zara from her prison that her aunt Petra, who is the Empress of Valcata, put her in. Um, yeah, and to do this, he goes and recruits Lara and Aaron, who are the main characters, the first two books in the Bridge Kingdom series, and they go on an adventure to help him. And we see this Devil's Island prison, which is just like completely barbaric, evil. It's filled with cannibals and rebels. And we see Petra is imprisoning these people that should not be imprisoned, like these rebels who should not be there. They didn't do anything wrong, really. And we learn that Petra's actually like evil. And I think Petra's maybe the best antagonist in the series. She's just pretty evil. Like she's just so evil. I don't know how Zara didn't see this growing up. But there's a lot of twists and turns in the prison island, obviously, and I think the setting of that island is really cool because it's like a prison inside a volcano, basically. Yeah, so there's like a tense breakout scene, a good fight. The breakout scene's really good action. There's some really good action in the breakout scene. There's a really good twist where you learn Zara's cousin is actually working against him, but also not following the Empress's orders. He's going to kill Karis, even though that was not the trap that the Empress set. The Empress set a different trap. There's actually two different traps going on in the island, which is really strange. But they break out, and then they end up actually going back to Valcata, and they meet up with the leader of the rebels, who actually turns out to be Zara's father, who Zara thought was dead the entire time. And we find out that Zara's mother was actually the named heir to the throne, and her older sister, Petra, usurped her and became the Empress. And she was the one that actually had Zara's mother killed. So, a lot of stuff going on there. But Petra's not done playing mind games and devising strats. She goes, while the King of Madrina is with Zara in the south of Valcata, she sends her ships up to the capital of Madrina, and she sacks the city. So Karis has to run back to the capital of Madrina, and when he gets there, he sees it's like all burned out and destroyed, but most of his people manage to escape. He meets with the people. He discovers another trapper than there. He sends the trap away to a different kingdom to punish her. He goes and tries to rally his army around him. It manages to work. He goes to the aid of Zara. Zara tricks her aunt into telling everybody that Zara was the real heir. It's really good plot point there. And in the end, Karis and Zara manage to kill Petra. And, Zara becomes queen of Valcata, and Karis abdicates his throne of Madrina and marries Petra and becomes like king consort there. And one of Lara's sisters becomes queen of Madrina. It's a really good end, really satisfying way to end the Endless War. I think this is the most action heavy of the books. The action in this book is really good. It's very quick beats. I really like that they brought back Lara and Aaron in this one. Which is awesome. Yeah, I really love this one. This one was good, very good book. Still not great, but it's another very fun book, very good book. The world building here is even better than the other books. Like the world building in the series is very admirable for what it is. It's another 3.5-star book for me. It's a very fun book, very good book. I really enjoyed it. And then I read The Twisted Throne by Danielle Jensen, which is the fifth book in the Bridge Kingdom series. And this focuses on two different characters. So this book takes place after the events of the Endless War. And here, Aaron's sister, Anna, her name's Anna, is going to fulfill her end of the 15-year treaty and go marry the prince of Herondale, which is the kingdom in the north. She doesn't. Aaron and Lara try to make her not go. They're like, you don't have to fulfill this part of the treaty. I'm sure they'll take just like some money or something. And she's like, no, I'm going. I don't like Lara. She's a terrible person. I can't be in the same place as her. So she decides to leave, and she takes a couple other people with her. She takes Taryn, who is her cousin, who also hates Lara, again, because of the events of the end of book 1. And she takes actually Lara's sister, who is one of her bodyguards, Bronwyn, with her, and another guy. On the way there, though, on the way to the kingdom, she actually falls in love with the wrong prince. She falls in love with the bastard prince named James. And when she gets to this kingdom, she realizes it is much different than she thought. She's not used to politics. She grew up a fighter. She's all about fighting, but in this kingdom, girls don't fight, and this kingdom is much more about the political mind games going on. And it's just nothing that she was ever trained for or knows how to handle. And you see the political mind games just totally overwhelm her. And I love the politics. This book. This is the most politic heavy of the books, and they're really interesting, really good to read. This is also the least predictable of the books. I should have mentioned the other 4 books. They're all kind of predictable at the end, varying levels of predictability, but they're all somewhat predictable. I think the end of this book is not very predictable. And the climax of it is awesome. The climax of this book is great. It leads you on another great cliffhanger where the king ends up being killed by the queen, and she installs her son as king, but the son is no longer going to marry Lara. She's marrying this other girl that actually is sent over. That's punishment. She sent this girl as punishment over to Arendelle, and yeah, and it's just great. And now they blame the murders on Anna, even though she had nothing to do with it, and now Anna's on the run from them. But they do end up arresting Taryn and Clara's sister at the end. Oh, the cliffhanger on this one is so good, and like I said, the politics are so good. I think these characters are not as I don't think Anna and James are nearly as good characters as Lara or Aaron, or even Zaris or not Karis and Zara. So yeah, I think those characters are just a little bit lesser, but the plot and the politics, this one is really good, and the climax is really good. Yeah, this is just another fun book. 3.5 stars for me again. And I can't wait for the next book, which comes out next year, I think. And it's going to be the 6th and final book in the Bridge Kingdom series. I can't wait to see what she does with the cliffhanger of this one, how she resolves it. Okay, and then I read Nettle Bone by T. King Fisher, which is a standalone fairy tale fantasy novel. And I read When a Sorceress Comes to Call earlier in the year, and I gave that 4 stars. I love that book. I thought it was great. I was like, I can't read another T. King Fisher book. I definitely was going to. And this one was good. It was a good book, but I don't think it was great. I don't think it was nearly as good as When a Sorceress Comes to Call, but I still thought it was good. Like, I had a fun time with it. The theming in this one's really good about like domestic violence. I think that's really good, and abuse. That was great. Where it doesn't work as well for me is I don't think the main character is really all that interesting. Kind of a flat note character again, but the side characters she meets are all either really funny or really interesting or really mean. Yeah, there's some really great side characters in this. And obviously the plot is she's the youngest princess of the Harbor Kingdom. Her 2 older sisters each get married to the Northern Kingdom's prince. The first one dies mysteriously, and the second one is she learns is being abused by him, and now her goal is to set out to kill this prince. Yeah, and there's some like fairy godmother magic going on, which is really fun, and it's still a quick book. I don't think the pacing is super even, but it's still a very quick book to read. It's a good standalone. I had a fun time with it. The end is really sweet. Yeah, the evil prince gets his just desserts. He gets killed. Yeah, it's a good book, and it, like I said, has great humor, really good theming. It's quick. But I just don't think the main character is super interesting. So for me, it falls a little bit flat. It's a 3-star book. It's good without being great, without even being very good, I would say. Just a good book. 3 stars. I had a fun time with it. But if I was to recommend the T. King Fisher book, I would recommend When a Sorceress Comes to Call. I thought that one was great. Okay, and then next up, I read The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which is the first book in the Realm of the Eldering series and the first book in the Farseer trilogy. So, sort of 2 separate things, but they're all part of the same universe. Yeah, this one's weird for me because I just thought it was very slow. Yeah, this took a while to get going for me, and it suffers from a bit of the same problems that Nettle Bone did for me. I just don't think Fitz, who is the main character, is very interesting. Like, not an interesting character. He should be, but his personality is just not super interesting. He feels, again, sort of like a blank slate, wet blanket. Insert your own character in into it. Now, the premise of the story is he's a bastard prince. Not a bastard prince. He's the bastard son of Prince Chivalry, who is the king in waiting when the book starts. And his mother casts him out of his home, but King Shrewd picks him up and he's going to bring him to the royal palace. But before he gets there, Prince Chivalry abdicates and flees with his wife to a different part of the land. And that leaves Prince Verity, who is next oldest brother, as king in waiting. And Prince Verity sort of takes him in. He likes Fitz, who is the main character. And his half-brother, Prince Regal, who is the youngest brother, who does not like Fitz, who calls him a bastard. He hates all bastards. Yeah, and like I said, his mother's different than the other one, so his mother's sort of instilling this type of stuff in him. Chivalry dies under mysterious circumstances, and the book's sort of like, what happened to him? And then in the end, we find out that King Shrewd wants Prince Verity to marry this foreign princess to sort of unite their kingdoms. Prince Regal is the one that's setting it up, and the whole plot is sort of a thing that Prince Regal is using to poison and kill both Fitz and Verity. Fortunately for us, we find this out before the end, and we put a stop to it. But not before Fitz gets poisoned, but he manages to survive, and he warns Prince Verity, who kills one of the magic users. And that's how things sort of end. That's how the book ends, with Regal hiding his tail and walking back home to the palace. And, Verity marries the princess of the Mountain Kingdom, who is actually a pretty cool character. So yeah, the climax of this book is really good, but it just took a while to get going. The book really doesn't get good until, I would say, Fitz starts his magic training with, I forget the guy's name, but with the magic user of the palace. But the magic isn't well described. Like, the skill, you don't really learn what it is in this book, which is weird because we have multiple chapters devoted to learning about it. Odd. You do learn about the wit, which is the other magic, the sort of forbidden magic in this kingdom. I think the side characters are really good. I think Prince Verity is a really good character. I think King Shrewd's a really good character. Patience is my favorite of the characters in this book, who is Prince Chivalry's wife, who comes to sort of raise and train Fitz in all things royalty after Chivalry dies. And I don't... Burrick, he's fine. And I really like Molly. Molly was a good character. So yeah, there's some stuff going for it. It just took a long time to get going for me. Like, too long. Just too long to get going. Just for me, it's just a 3-star book. It's good without being very good or great. And then we go to The Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which is the second book in the Farseer trilogy and the second book in the Realm of the Elderlings series. This is another one that has some problems for me. The biggest problem is, again, it just takes a long time to get going. And I don't understand why. It doesn't have to. It frustrates me because the side characters in this book are so awesome. Like, the queen in waiting now, I think her name's Karakin or something like that. She is awesome. She's one of my favorite characters I've read this year. She's a great character. Really loved her. Prince Verity, again, just awesome. I think Molly is awesome. Every time she's mad at Fitz, it's like, yeah, she's right. She should be mad at Fitz. Loved her as a character. I think King Shrewd is really interesting. Now, the main problem is Prince Regal is a Saturday morning cartoon villain. Like, the plot is so... You have to suspend your disbelief so far to make this plot make any sense. Like, he is so obviously doing evil planning, and just like nobody sees it. It's like, yeah, don't worry about Regal. We got him under control. It's like, no, you don't. No, he is trying to literally kill the king. What are we? And Verity. What are we talking about here? This dude is outrageously. It's like not even hiding. Like this. It's scheming in plain sight. It's super frustrating. He's very easy to hate. Don't get me wrong. I love that he's easy to hate. He's a really easy antagonist to hate. But they should have just put a stop to him. Like, it makes no sense they didn't put a stop to him because everybody knew he was planning something. Like, and if you didn't, like, it makes no sense because he was planning it in the open. Oh, that part was super frustrating. But again, the climax of this one was also, again, really, really good. where they kill King Shrewd, but they don't manage to kill Fitz, and Fitz goes and kills the two people that were using the skill that killed King Shrewd. But then he gets caught and imprisoned in the dungeons. But the coastal lands won't let them execute Fitz without proving that he used the wit to kill King Shrewd, which he didn't. So of course, Regal's never going to be able to prove that. But Fitz knows Regal's never going to let him leave this dungeon free. So he uses Birch's way out to sort of ingest this poison to temporarily kill himself. But while he's temporarily killed, he abdicates his body and goes into the body of a wolf with the magic of the wit, the forbidden magic. And then they announce that Fitz is dead, and they bury him. And Regal assumes the role of king and leaves the Keep Palace, and he makes his palace elsewhere. And then they unbury Fitz's body, and they make Fitz's soul go back into his body. It's a really cool end. Don't get me wrong, I love the end, and the book overall is good because it's really easy to hate Regal, and you're like, when is somebody going to stop him? When is somebody going to stop him the whole time? And I think the side characters are awesome. Like I said, the side characters rule. This is a good book. 3 stars. I liked it better than the first book, but it's still not enough to get into the very good range of 3.5 because it just takes so long to get going, and the main character and the main antagonist is just Saturday morning cartoon villain. So, yep. And that is what I read this month. Those are my 14 books. Like I said, it was a good without being like a super great reading month. Almost every book I read was good to very good, and there were like 1 or 2 books that reached above that into the great or perfect range. But I'm super grateful that I got to read N.K. Jemisin for the first time this month. She's awesome, great author. I've enjoyed my time reading Robin Hobb. I wish she wrote things just a little bit faster paced. That's my one gripe with her, and it's not her fault because like some people love that style. It's just I don't really think it's for me. But I am going to finish the Farseer trilogy for sure because I really want to see what happens to Regal. Hope he dies in the next book because I hate him. And then I read a bunch of really fun books with Witch Kingdom, which those are like fun palate cleansers. Those are really really fun books, and I think they have admirable world building and really good character work. And I also read a standalone of Nettle Bone, which was awesome. And I read 2 independently published books this month. So those are just a really good month of reading. So let me know what you guys read this month. Was it good? Was it bad? Let me know below.